We want to bring in Carol Marine. We already aired one story that you put together, Carol, because you were there the day that Ed Burke's office was raided. First and foremost, as a reporter in this market for decades, your reaction to the conviction of Ed Burke on 13 counts.
You know, Marion, nobody thought he could be touched. Nobody thought it would ever happen. The fact that it did signals both the long view that the government takes on these things, but also the longer you are in power, sometimes the less careful you become in doing what you become used to doing. And that may be the story of Ed Burke, Alderman Ed Verdoliak of the 10th Ward, those who went before in a federal courthouse, is at one point or another, if you are engaged in some sort of corrupt activity, sometimes you forget to be careful.
And you first broke that story on November 29th of 2018, watching the butcher paper go up over Alderman Burke's doors. Then, taking us back 5 years,
right.
Did you think we would get, because he had survived so many previous attempts, did you think we would have this when you were standing at those butcher paper doors?
I thought it was a possibility, and here's why. I've witnessed, as other reporters have witnessed, major federal raids. I was there when I saw more FBI agents than I think I have ever seen pour out of elevators and sort of in V formation hit Burke's office. The seriousness of it, the size of it, the intentionality of it, the fact they were also over at the 14th Ward at his headquarters there, I thought it was possible.
Ultimately, it appears, and we even heard a little bit the U.S. attorney talking about out of his own mouth, his own words. So Danny Solis was really critical to this. So the tapes were really, really critical to this, as it appears. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts about how this prosecution came about with the tapes of Danny Solis.
You know, dial back to previous investigations and tape recordings. You know, Rod Blagojevich made a lot of the same arguments that Ed Burke's lawyers made, that no money was exchanged, I didn't ask for anything, and then the tapes played. And Blagojevich said, I've got this thing, and it's effing golden. Mm-hmm. The jury heard that, heard very good lawyers, but went back to the tapes, and it's what they heard from the former governor of the state of Illinois. What they heard in the courtroom most recently are the words of the most powerful alderman Chicago has seen since the late Tom Keene. You know, and when they heard Burke, it rose over and above any skilled lawyer's argument that, you know, this doesn't stick.
Because you can't change the tone.
You can't change the tone.
Let me ask you a little bit about Tom Keene. Right before we went on the air, you talked about this is the most significant conviction since Tom Keene. Bring us up to speed as to what this means in the scheme of the city council.
In the scheme, you know, so Ed Burke is an historian. He knows all the history. That's what makes this such a tragic story in its own way. Ed Burke knew what happened to Tom Keene. Finance Committee chairman, just like Ed Burke. Southsider, just like Ed Burke. Someone who had the ear of the mayor, had all the wheels and all the controls in city council. And he got tripped up with his own greed. And he went to prison. Old Mayor Daley's guy, Tom Keene. All those years later, Ed Burke replays this same movie.
Where, if you can rank it, where does this rank in, I'll put it in Illinois history? You have all the not all the governors, but you have the group of governors, you have aldermen, you have mayors. Where do you put this in terms of its significance?
I put it way high, and here's why. Sometimes an alderman's more powerful than a governor. Sometimes an alderman, 50 of those aldermen, they govern like 50 individual states. And the kind of money that travels through a ward office, the kind of zoning deals, parkway permits, all the little, you know, nickels and dimes that add up. An alderman is an enormously powerful person. And Ed Burke, the feds have been criticized for years of hitting low-hanging fruit. Poor aldermen from little district and little wards, you know, they were the low-hanging fruit. Ed Burke's at the top of the totem pole of many totem poles. He could make you a judge, Alex. He could make you a judge, Marion. He made his wife a judge and a Supreme Court justice. That's how powerful he was.
One other quick question I want to ask. So this is the 37th conviction of an alderman. We're going to go back to Marianne Ahern and Charlie Wojciechowski in just a second. And we just asked Lori Lightfoot about this, and you talked about potential. I mean, clearly, this one going down, does it make a difference? Could there be a reform? If he didn't know, with knowing the history that he knows, is there any potential for any kind of reform in the city council?
Boy, that's the question. I heard the U.S. attorney talk about deterrence. Well, I've been hearing them talk about deterrence.
Like they read it off a
since
card.
I started reporting here in Chicago, those many years ago.
Right.
It didn't deter the next one. So did Tom Keene deter Ed Burke? No. Did Rod Blagojevich deter Ed Burke? You know, no one did, because a lot of times public officials believe that they are smarter than those guys that got caught. And in the end, it does not appear he was.
We want to bring in Marianne Ahern and Charlie Wojciechowski, who have been following the trial. I know your partner in crime, Marianne Ahern, for many years. We're so glad to have you back, Carol, by the way. Thank you for joining us, because, you know, you are the doyen of politics here in the city of Chicago, and Marianne's right behind you. Just want to get your thoughts, or if you guys have any thoughts you have for Carol Marin. I know watching the trial had to be fascinating.
And Carol, of course, even though she's not with us every day anymore, was in the courtroom at times, couldn't stay away, had to see what was going on. That's just, I'm going to be right
Carol
there with
Marin.
you someday, Carol. Yeah. Just one other little bit of a reaction from Congressman Garcia, who also served in the city council and was part of the Harold Washington supportive group, says, today the long history of corrupt Chicago politics righted itself. A man who abused his position of trust for over 50 years, who manipulated the public for his personal gain, was rightfully reprimanded. He goes on, but Chuy Garcia quick to raise his reaction, and of course not surprised by what happened.
Not at all, but I think he raises another question. Does it actually right itself, or is someone going to have to take some action at some point to change the structure of city council, to change the incentive nature of city council, to make this a body that is not prone to corruption? Because as it is structured now, I think Carol brought it up, she said 50 states, it's more like 50 fiefdoms, and because of that, every alderman has not only the incentive but the opportunity to take advantage of these nickels and dimes. And will this message get through to this new class? We had a brand new city council here. Almost a third of its membership is brand new. Are they going to look at this? Are they going to understand, I can't do what Ed Burke did?
Carol?
One quick correction, and my thanks to Abden Palish, formerly of the Chicago Sun-Times. He said the Tom Keene observation is correct, but he was from Humboldt Park, not the South Side.
Okay.
I should have known better. Thank you very much for that correction.
Thank you for the correction. I think this is the big. I'm sorry, Alex.
No, go ahead.
You go ahead.
Well, I do want to ask, because we're talking about Burke as the chairman of the Finance Committee, and I think that goes over the head of a lot of voters or people at home. They see all these committees, they hear zoning, they hear what. Finance, you really can't do very much in the city of Chicago with that. I was struck just when the indictment came out that the Field Museum couldn't raise their fee without going through some machinations of Chicago City Council and ergo Ed Burke.
So the Finance Committee, Alex, was like a huge office. Not even like, it was. Ed Burke managed to control so many things, including workers' comp. Workers' comp is how a guy in the streets and sanitation hurts his wrist, he can't work, he goes to maybe a doctor suggested by the Finance Committee, he's out for the next 30 years on, on some sort of medical leave that's paid for.
And this whole process opaque.
And the whole process is opaque, and Ed Burke was the master and the puppet master of that. So the Finance Committee controlled much more than any other committee in that entire city council.
And it seemed that he really thrived in that role because he got that role, I think, as early as 1983 and held it basically through 2019, almost concurrently the whole time. I'm curious what your thoughts are when he lost the race for Cook County State's Attorney to Richard M. Daley. It was really the biggest political setback he's ever had in his career. And I wonder how much, if you could talk about this, he might have looked at the Finance Committee and the rest of his career in City Council as the way to be a kingmaker that being a state's attorney or being a mayor could never be.
I think they were concurrent thoughts. Going for whatever office you wanted to go for and always being a kingmaker. I don't think that ever moved off of his
Because early on he
approach.
thought about being mayor or running for mayor at some point. That was in his mind. But he realized perhaps that he didn't need to be mayor to be the kingmaker he wanted to be. Is that how you see it?
I do. And remember that Ed Burke's dad was an alderman. His father was a very powerful South Side guy. Ed Burke was raised in the bosom of the machine. And when his dad died, here he is, the youngest guy in city council, but he's an alderman already. And actually a committeeman first and then an alderman. And so I think Ed Burke understood what Roman Puczynski understood when he decided that it was less influential to be a U.S. congressman than to be the alderman of the 41st Ward.
There's a lot of power there.
There's a lot of power.
We're going to read through the counts and in just a second. I have one real quick question for you because you do know so much about politics. Just put in context Ed Burke during the era of Harold Washington, because to African Americans in this community, in this city, Harold Washington was their hope. And the Verdole Act 29, of which Ed Burke was a major component, really worked hard against everything he tried to do. What does this day mean, do you think, in the scheme of things to Chicago politics and African Americans as a constituency?
I know Del Marie Cobb would agree with me on this. I was there when Harold Washington died and when the city council went to pick a new mayor. There were thousands in the streets. I had a ripped trench coat trying to get in. That's how volatile it was. Council wars was ugly, it was venomous, it was personal, it was about race, it was about power. And Verdoliak and Burke were the twin brothers of that insurrection against Washington. And there's no smaller way to put it than that. Jane Byrne, who was elected as a reform mayor, came in, had called them an evil cabal, and the minute she's sworn in, she joins the cabal. That's how powerful Verdoliak and Burke really were.